welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Sojka0.
Richard.
Hey, Stefan.
Guess what?
What?
It's our first birthday show! Whoa! Oh, goodness me!
The party poppers go everywhere. There are streamers.
Happy birthday, Skeptic Zone!
Wow. That stuff smells terrible.
That's poppers.
Look at smoking stuff. All right, you can't see.
Oh, the fire alarm's going to go off in a minute.
It's going to go off in a moment. Yes, Stefan, this is show 49 for the 25th of September, but it's our 1 year show.
Happy birthday! Congratulations!
Thanks, man.
What a zone it's been.
What a time
it's
in
been,
the zone.
It's been a great time in the zone.
The time zone.
1 year zone time.
1 year.
Wow. It doesn't feel like that, does it? It feels
yes,
like
it
about
does.
5. No, but congratulations, Richard, on everything that you've done. I mean, I've just taken a little role here, just padding out the show every now and then. But
you've done some interviews. You got Tim mentioned.
I did too.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And you do some funny bits?
Oh, every now and then.
Yeah,
but Tim actually is getting quite a few hits on YouTube too, so that's not too bad.
That was pretty good.
Yeah,
and when I was at Dragon Con, people were saying, and is Stefan here? Where's Stefan?
Oh, man. No. I'm going to be there next year.
Next year.
All right. But, Richard, congratulations on everything that's been happening in the zone. And what are we going to do for this birthday show? 1 year anniversary, we're going to revisit where we started, which was Dragon Con. Ooh.
And last year, the first show was a live recording from Dragon Con. So for the birthday anniversary edition, we go back to Dragon Con and
do it again.
So coming up is our live show from Dragon Con, made this year with our special guest Daniel Loxton from Junior Skeptic.
Ooh.
And one of our great friends, George Hrab, the singer, Geo.
He's a bit of a legend.
He is.
I think, Richard, we should just hold the suspense and just go straight into it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Recording there?
You want me to move that over? Yeah, to move that over.
Yeah. Think that'll stay? What do you reckon?
Yeah. Sound.
All righty. Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone live at Dragon Con. It's fabulous to be back here at Dragon Con. In fact, ladies on the stage with me, who I'll introduce in a moment, it was this very room last year at this time we launched the show. So happy birthday, the Skeptic Zone.
Yes.
Yeah. Joining me on the stage is our good friend and reporter from all the way from Perth in Western Australia, Kylie Sturgess. And of course you know her from her great Dr. Rachie reports. It's Dr. Rachie Dunlop. It really is tremendous to be back here at Dragon Con, although I think we've decided next year when we come, we're going to come like a week early just to try to adjust these wretched time zones and everything. It's a killer.
Yeah.
But you stopped on the way, didn't you?
I stopped off in Auckland, and I shall be returning to Auckland straight after this for the inaugural Skeptics in the Pub Auckland. So we've inspired something in that regard.
Fantastic. Dr. H and I had a wonderful trip to visit Kylie in Perth on the other side of Australia a few weeks ago, where we did some talks, and just by accident, more or less, we founded Perth Skeptics in the Pub. So.
Yes, and that has that's had its second run, and we're planning on meeting every last Sunday of the month, and we've already started having a few guest speakers lined up, so it looks like it's going to be...
I really love Skeptics in the Pub. I kicked one off in Sydney about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was sort of doing okay, but in the last year and a half, it's exploded. It's just gone bananas, and I think that's largely due to I tell you who it's largely due to. It's largely due to SGU. So many people come to our Skeptics in the Pub and say, "Oh, hello, I heard about you on the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe." Oh, great. So thank you, SGU. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you up the back there hiding.
That's tremendous. And I really enjoy Skeptics in the Pub. It's so informal. It's fantastic. You can come along. You don't even have to listen to the talks. You can just have a drink and a chat.
Well, you know, Richard, the podcast is a year old now, but I wasn't here last year, and so I wasn't here to see the launch. And it used to be the Tank vodcast, didn't it? It was a video format, and then it went back to audio, and now you've gone back to audio again.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing year, hasn't it, for the Zone? It's been very, very successful. We've gone from strength to strength, haven't we? It's
really been nice to look at the graphs and the statistics week after week. When we first launched the show, of course, it was just blipping along, and then suddenly, up it went, and it's really gratifying. It's really great, and it's so nice for people to come up and shake us by the hand or kick us in the teeth and say,
"Kick us in the teeth." I haven't had that yet.
Really?
No. Maybe it's just you.
I paid them to do that.
Now we've got can you all see the slide up there? Go for it.
Okay, what you can see there, some of the things that we do. We've already briefly touched upon some of the travels.
Yeah.
Richard Saunders, last time you have done TAM 6, you did that by yourself, I believe, and then you did TAM 7, which was with Iran Segev and Amanda Rose.
That's right, they were there as well. Yeah, we had a great time at TAM. TAM's always a good fun. And it was so nice to see James Randi at TAM, of course, and we wish him well. It's so gratifying. I was just sitting at home the other day and up popped a chat, and it was James Randi. And he was telling me how much he appreciated my messages of support to him. And I thought, that's wonderful. You know, there he is going through all this stuff, but he's taking time out to let people know that he's appreciating. So, Randy, if you're watching, thanks.
We also have networking with other skeptics in other states. These are the capital cities of some of the other states that we visited. The Young Australian Skeptics, their hometown is Melbourne, and we did the Skeptic Zone talks to Melbourne at the University of Melbourne, thanks to the Skeptic podcast over there, the YAS. Yeah. So a big shout out to them and their support. We've done Adelaide, which was the last Australian Skeptics Conference.
Last year, yes.
Yes, featuring camels, as I recall.
That's right, yes.
We've done
a box of ducks.
And a box of ducks, which makes it extra funny. Perth, and then soon Auckland. And of course we've done a lot of interviews.
We've done, I think half the people in this room have been interviewed by us.
Yes. Anyone not being interviewed, please line up afterwards. Got a man and a pen, I'll write it down. And many of those interviews are now being turned into transcripts and turned into a book.
Yeah, we're bringing out a book of the best interviews, or all interviews, or many interviews anyway.
Regrettably, the best interviews of the Skeptic Zone podcast.
Regrettably, the best of the Skeptic Zone.
Yes,
George.
Upcoming, Dr. Rachie, she's at the Nexus.
I am, yeah. I'm going to be at Nexus on the 12th of September in New York with Steve Novella, who's at the back there. Who else is here who's going to be at Nexus? Oh, Rebecca and Jay, and is Jay here? Bob and Jay. And, Gio, lovely Gio Hrab, who is wearing pants, listeners, in case you're wondering.
It's early.
He says it's early. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be great.
Cool. We have the Australian Skeptics Conference in Brisbane. It'll be in
November this year, the big Australian Skeptics Conference in Brisbane. Looking forward to that. We'll be up there doing our show.
Mm-hmm. And we have, this isn't really upcoming in terms of an event, but it's a project we're involved with. That's the blog anthology with the Young Australian Skeptics and the Critical Teaching Education Group. And that's something that we've known about and supported, and I'll be working on that with this team. So it's a bit of interaction with the other podcasts out there, particularly in Australia. We've got quite a high profile, I must admit, amongst the Australian podcasts, and yet we like to interact and support the others too.
It's surprising too, when we launched the show last year back home, I don't know if I can recall, or maybe one other skeptical podcast in the country, or I'm not even sure about that. But in the last year, there's 5, 6, 7 have just sprung up. In Melbourne and Sydney, everybody's getting into the game.
And many of them are featured on the Australian Skeptics website, aren't they? Skeptics.com.au,
there's a link there. You can see probably not all the science and skeptical podcasts coming out of Australia, but most of them, I would think.
And anything else that we haven't done?
Seriously. I haven't been to TAM yet.
Oh, well, there you go.
Next year.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And let me see, as individuals, we've done a variety of projects as well. Both of you are members of the Australian Skeptics. You're both vice presidents.
Yes. And those of you who listen to the show will be certainly aware of our continuing campaign promoting more or less good health by supporting vaccination. I'm sure you're all aware of this issue. Dr. Rachie, would you like to give our audience a little overview of what's been happening in that area, especially with your Dr. Rachie report?
Well, if you saw my talk, which was yesterday, you would have seen an overview, but when I got back to my room, in fact, after I did that talk, I checked up to see what the anti-vaxxers were up to, because they're getting a little bit rattled of late, because we just keep pounding away at them and they don't seem to like that much. And a couple of weeks ago they sent out...
Rachel, that doesn't translate, but keep going.
What? What does it translate? Did I say something parochial?
Yes, keep going.
No, we point certain things out to them.
We do. But a few weeks ago they sent out an email to their members pleading for donations because, in fact, a lot of people don't know this, but we put an ad in a national newspaper about 2 weeks ago alerting Australian parents to the anti-vaxxers and saying, don't listen to them, please seek advice from medical professionals and health professionals. Whatever you do, don't take advice from these people. Now, we managed to do that because we knew that they were planning to do a similar thing.
Now, you've got a great word for these sort of people, Rachel. It begins with N.
Oh, I have several, but I think the one you're talking about is numpty. Is it, Richard? Numpties, yeah.
Yeah, some people are real numpties, you know. Now, we must make a special point to thank once again a man by the name of Dick Smith. I think some of you probably would have heard of Dick Smith. He's a good friend of the Australian Skeptics. In fact, he was one of the founders of the Australian Skeptics. He's a very good and dear friend of James Randi, and it was in fact James Randi in 1980 who came out to Australia who sort of kicked off Australian Skeptics. But Dick Smith is a self-made millionaire who spent most of his life doing really good deeds with his money. It's just fantastic. And he came to our skeptics in the pub to give a talk, and we were explaining the situation about the anti-vax lobby, and he called us back a few days later and said, I will pay for the ad in the national newspaper, which is not cheap. Not cheap at all, but it's made a huge impact to our fight. So a big thank you to Dick Smith. He's always been a strong supporter of science and just good common sense, I think.
Yeah. And also a big thank you to you guys here, because in the couple of days I've been here, I've had so many people come up to me and say, we heard about the anti-vax lobby from you guys on The Zone, and because of your passion and dedication, we've written about it, we've blogged about it, we've sent it around the world, and I really appreciate that, because in Australia a lot of people didn't know they were there, and our aim was to expose them and then to expose their misinformation and their lies, and we are doing that so well, and we're so pleased about that. So thank you to you guys too.
Yeah, and I don't think Phil's here, Phil Plate, but he's a really big supporter of us. Whenever we do something like this, he'll blog it straight away, and we get a massive amount of traffic coming back to us.
And Steve has as well, Steve Novella, thanks to you.
Yeah, thanks Steve. But it's I mean, a lot of us, we do the skeptical stuff, and sometimes we wonder, gee, are we actually making a difference there? We might enjoy it ourselves, or we might get something out of it, but just occasionally we can really see the difference and the benefit. Hopefully the benefit to our way of thinking that we're making out there. It's very gratifying indeed. You'd have to agree. I
would have to agree. In fact, I was just thinking to myself then, I remember a few months back, somebody sent around an email saying, have you heard this podcast called The Skeptic Zone? They're really biased and stuff. And that was actually...
Oh, come on, we interview parapsychologists.
The funny thing about that was that was the week we interviewed Stephen Fry, and they put a link to our website, and when you went to the link, there was the page of the Stephen Fry interview, and I was thinking, what's the bias bit here? It's an interview with Stephen Fry, but yeah.
Well, let's not make any mistake. I mean, we're dealing with people here. Well, amongst their ranks, they're into just about every possible conspiracy theory going. Now, the basic thing about the anti-vaccination people, back home, and probably here too, though I can't comment too much, is they really sincerely do think there is an evil plot by the Illuminati or world governments or whatever the case may be to poison us and hurt us. especially by the large pharmaceutical companies. Why they produce pharmaceuticals is to keep us sick, to sell us more pharmaceuticals. Vaccinations are a plot, straight out a plot by the governments. Barack Obama's probably involved somewhere along the way. We're on the payroll of large pharmaceutical companies, we've been told that. The TV network in Australia, Channel 7, that ran a pro-vaccination story, are in the pay of large pharmaceutical companies. And they sincerely and truly believe this. I mean, that's what I think. I can't see why they would justify it any other way. So it's an interesting situation where you've got a group of people doing what we consider bizarre and wacky things, but we must question, do they have in their own hearts good motives? Good motives that have been completely warped and twisted. What do you think?
Do they have good motives?
Yeah, do they think they're doing good?
I think they initially probably did. I mean, a lot of the people that are involved at the grassroots level in the AVN, for example, are parents that have had a vaccine-injured child, and those are the people that are desperate to find answers.
It stems from personal experience. Once they believe that this is something that has happened to their child, to their family, and they're just going to fight it on.
Well, that's right, and they're looking for answers, obviously, and so they find those answers, unfortunately, in the likes of the AVN, who will tell them that the vaccine is made from cells that are cancerous, that they're grown in aborted fetuses, and
they don't work.
Primarily, yes, they don't work.
And what does work is homeopathic vaccination.
Oh yeah, that's another story that we've got in our hands at the moment, isn't it? We have a government in Australia who is like a wet week, basically. I mean, they are like a lot of governments. They're pretty hopeless. They take ages to do anything, and they're not proactive about doing anything. And we recently came across a website that was touting homeopathic vaccination for meningococcal disease. Now, many of you would know that meningococcal is a rapid onset bacterial infection.
Yes, that just rolls off the tongue. Yes, it's a rapid onset. Thank you, PhD. Please continue.
It's like pertussis. It's such a nice word, isn't it? Sorry if I've offended. Pertussis. But we wrote to the equivalent of the FDA in Australia and said, listen, we think that this is really bad, and this disease can kill kids in 24 hours, and please do something about removing this website, because we do have laws in Australia where if you make claims that can't be substantiated or there's no evidence to support that, the government can say, right, that website's gone, get rid of it. Now, we sent them all this information, and to make a complaint in Australia is not just sending an email saying this website's bad. You have to investigate the website and match it to the legislation where you think it's been breached. So it's not just a small project. And we sent it to them and said, look, this is a problem. And you wait 6 weeks and we heard nothing. And then you can go to their website, and the complaints resolution panel, there'll be a results page and there'll be a page that says unresolved. Now, we found our complaint in the unresolved section with the comment that not under our jurisdiction, and that was it. And so they basically just put it in the too hard basket and said, oh, God, we don't know what to do with that. Well, shit, don't tell anyone, just put it over there. And what do we do now? These people are still, until like a week and a half ago when I checked, saying that you can use homeopathy to vaccinate against meningococcal disease.
Now, what we do is what James Randi did with Peter Popoff. Most of you probably know the story. He busted Peter Popoff, who was a faith healer, and he was saying, running up to people in the audience, and he knew all about them because he was getting messages from God, where in fact he had a little earpiece and his wife was feeding him the information. And James Randi went to the authorities. He said, this guy's a fraud. He's bunking people, conning them out of their money, and the authorities didn't want to know anything about it. So James Randi likes to say he went to a higher authority. He went to Johnny Carson. But when the government are just not willing to act, or they don't think it's an important matter, then we will. We'll tell the world about it. And now, with Web 2.0 and the increasing popularity of what we do, we can tell a lot of people at once. It's really cool.
Yeah. That's why the blogosphere is so important to everyone's work as skeptics, I think. I mean, you can get things out there so quickly. And the good example of that is the Ben Goldacre, Jenny Barnett case that many people here would probably know about, where Jenny Barnett is a UK announcer. She did a talkback show on a radio station called LBC, where she was talking about MMR vaccines and saying they cause autism and everything else that, has been perpetuated by the Andrew Wakefield paper. And Ben Goldacre posted that a little soundbite from that show on his website because he couldn't explain it in words. The stupid burnt so much that he just... I mean, his term for it was like being beaten with a stupid stick repeatedly across their head. That's how bad it was. And the response from the radio station LBC was to send the lawyers round to say to Ben, that's it, this is breach of copyright, we're going to sue you, take it down now. Now, he's a little citizen fellow, he's not in a position to fight lawyers from a big multinational radio station. So his response was, OK, I've got to take it down. But the blogosphere decided that wasn't the way we wanted it to go.
And in fact, it was your blog, my blog, Gimpy, Brainduck, a few of the others, yes. That's what we were known as. We banded together, about 5-6 of us, and we said, right, we need the sound, and what we'll do is we'll break it up into 5-minute segments. Each one of us will take one of those 5-minute segments and transcribe it, and we then proceeded to spread it across the internet on our blogs and encouraged other people to copy it off our websites. So it wasn't just in one chunked place on one site, it was dispersed across several sites, linked to each other, which then proceeded to link on from then onwards, and it essentially just spread everywhere. So if anyone wanted to read what was being said by Jenny Barnett, they could just quite easily go hop, 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 hop.
What's that
the whole
called?
story.
Streisand effect.
The Streisand effect, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It went viral very quickly, and so that was the end of it for LBC. They could, they can't take down 200 blogs across the world, and it was on WikiLeaks as well.
Yeah.
So and I think actually, Kylie, I believe in Australia, that occurred around maybe midnight Perth time for you.
Oh, yes.
And that is 2 a.m. Sydney time.
Yes.
So I remember getting a Skype from you saying, quick, emergency, skeptical emergency.
You would be interested in section 6, would you? It's only 5 minutes. Here you go. Yes. That was because it was about dinner time in London, and that was where some of the other bloggers were. Yeah. And I said to you, if we make this international, they can't shut us down because there's too many countries involved. Yep. It was mostly British, and then us Australians, and then it proceeded to go to
a similar thing happened just a few weeks ago to me personally. There was a homeopath on a morning television show in Australia promoting the benefits of homeopathic vaccination. I thought, this is just... Your brain just hurts.
Do you need a stupid stick, Richard? No.
I need a stupid stick. So I do what I do. I videoed it and I put it up on YouTube, and people were going nuts and writing to the station. In fact, the station was flooded with complaints saying, this is dangerous, apart from anything else, this is bad advice and it's dangerous. So the TV station reacted by whinging or complaining to YouTube, and I lost my YouTube account. It was just gone. Well, if the network thought that was going to stop the story, then it went Streisand effect. So everybody around the world picked it up and copied the video and posted the transcript, so it won't go away like that.
No. You can't get rid of things anymore. With Web 2.0 and with Twitter and with blogs, don't try and hide things, people. Because we're waiting for you, even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning in Sydney.
And especially if you have a Yahoo group that puts it out there that anyone can join.
And people twittering I can see at the moment. But now what we'd like to do is change the pace of the show a little bit. We've got a couple of great guests we'd like to chat to, and I'd like to call up Daniel Loxton. I just made some... Oh, there we go. Oh, we need an extra chair.
That's right, there's one behind you.
Excellent. Take a seat at the end there, Daniel. Yep, that is. I'll just get Rachie sorted. That's great. Now, before we get going, and I know you've got some great questions for Daniel, Kylie. Daniel, a year ago, Daniel, or maybe, I can't even remember when it was. I guess you all know I invented an origami Pegasus for James Randi, and Daniel came to me, yes, we got this. Daniel came to me and said they were doing an issue for Junior Skeptics about dragons.
That's correct, and I decided, it would be so neat if there's a little free something we could give away. What about instructions for something? Those instructions could be given away around the world for $0. So what about a little puzzle or a little project? And the Pegasus was so inspiring that I contacted Richard, and he suggested that he might do an origami dragon. And you put together a little video for that, didn't you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the video was lost when I lost my YouTube channel. But of all the videos I had there, that was one of the most downloaded, in fact, or most viewed, or however it works. And I'd get a lot of correspondence from people in South America. I don't know why, but
do they have dragons there?
They might have dragons there.
Did you tell me that it had been downloaded 94,000 times?
Yeah, something like that. Even more than the Pegasus.
Yeah, that was a real surprise to me, but gratifying. What a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun. I love simple things like that can make a big difference. But most of the correspondence I got back was just saying, "Oh, I could make it, thank you," because sometimes especially people making origami out of books or whatever, they give up halfway because they can't possibly follow it. But I tried to make that nice and simple.
It was kind of idiot-proof. I managed to muddle my way through it. Just a couple of tries.
Somebody wrote back to me and said, "Yeah, I made it, but it doesn't really look like a dragon." So I wrote back saying, "Well, if you send me a photograph of a dragon, I'll try again." Now, before we get going with questions, Daniel, would you like to tell our audience, our listening audience, a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background?
Well, I work for Skeptic magazine, which is the magazine produced by the Skeptic Society here in the United States. It's a non-profit organization, and Skeptic is a quarterly magazine. I do a number of things there, but my main gig is the junior Skeptic section, which is a 10-page illustrated kids science section bound into the back of the magazine. And it typically tackles classic paranormal topics like Bigfoot or pyramid power. We did the crystal skulls and dragons just for fun. But monsters and things that go bump in the night are the usual fare for juniors.
It's the evergreen, isn't it, of skepticism, especially for the younger kids.
Well, I mean, who doesn't love a monster? That's the thing, and and people who write to us or contact me, adults very often say, "Oh, yeah, even I read Junior Skeptic," and I say, "Well, you don't have to be sheepish about it." When I was just a reader of Skeptic magazine, Junior Skeptic, which was created by Pat Lindsay, was my favorite part. I would turn to it first, and that's the pattern that we hear, sometimes a little sheepishly, but most of our readers tell us that they flip to Junior Skeptic first. It's like reading the comics. It's you start with the comics, and then you go on to maybe the letters and book reviews, and eventually you get the features at the end. But it's people like monsters,
even in Australia. Absolutely. In fact, we were just discussing, and Rachel and I did our Mystery Investigator show here a few hours ago. And just last week in Australia, we got a guy called Rex Gilroy who looks for yowies. Yowies. Bigfoot. Australian Bigfoots are called yowies. But he's also found, he says, evidence of a plesiosaur in the river north of Sydney. So when we go back, Dr. Rachie?
Yeah, we're going to the river to look for a plesiosaur. Can't wait for that.
Is it a big river?
Yeah.
Not by plesiosaur standards?
No, I don't think so.
Daniel, are you aware that the man who thinks he's Jesus lives next door to me, and the man who thinks he's Jesus fixed my colour TV? What am I saying?
I think you've just tested me and found me wanting.
Oh, you're kidding.
But I would take a stab at maybe a Men at Work lyric.
No, that was Corky and the Juice Pigs. Oh, I've got you there, because that was how we first started chatting, I believe. We have a shared love of comedy.
That's true.
And in fact, you majored in theatre?
I did a little theatre back in Bishop's University in Quebec, Canada. I did set design and some script writing there, but no acting. I'm not.
Really?
Not at all. By nature, I'm very shy in a setting like this. I find it kind of alarming. I keep hoping that we'll get Gio up here soon to do the funny.
And so, even with some of the background that you had in theatre, did you ever come across many superstitions that challenged you?
Well, we did a production of the Scottish play. I designed a set for that.
I've seen photos on Facebook. It's not on your more
Scottish play. The Scottish play.
Yeah, that's what they call Macbeth in the
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. There's the usual kind of old chestnuts of theatre superstitions. That one being one that comes to mind.
Yeah. So being a person who comes from a background in the humanities, I guess connecting with skepticism is something that doesn't readily come to mind, and yet you seem to be quite an advocate for that, allowing for all diversity.
Well, I think modern skepticism is built to a huge degree on the humanities. I mean, like, you guys you're doing communication right now, and that's what I typically do. Is the main part of my job, drawing pictures and telling stories and doing kind of historical sleuthing and those kinds of things are all humanities disciplines. It definitely, skepticism got its teeth into me very early in junior high school, and I was really a committed zealot for it by the time I was in freshman year of university. Discovered a huge stack of Skeptical Inquirer back issues, and at that time, like in 1993, I don't think Skeptical Inquirer was available on newsstands yet. You had to have a university library in order to find it and read it. And it was in this little journal format thing, black and white. And but it was just like a cool drink of water for me. It was wonderful.
In many ways, Canada and Australia are the same, I think. I mean, we both are part of the Commonwealth. Our head of state is still the Queen of England, which is a bit strange, I must admit. There you go, she's on our coins. Yeah. but you don't play much cricket in Canada. I can't get my head around that.
Not too much, but they're the same in many ways. I mean, they're large. Their population base is quite similar. Yeah. Culturally, they're very similar. They're both resource extraction economies.
You use the metric system, right?
Yeah, we sure do. But it's a mix. No one in Canada knows what a mile is, but people don't have a really good sense of what a kilo is either. They have to stop and think about it. Most people think for everyday use, people in Canada think in feet and inches and pounds and kilometers.
I see. Well, that's a good point. Actually, when someone of my generation in metric came in 1973 in Australia, but I still think of people's height in feet and inches. It's strange.
Sometimes you'll get directions in miles out in the prairies because everything's kind of ruled off in mile squares. So they'll say, go east for 2 miles, and it's not helpful if you're not used to miles or points of the compass.
I like that a lot, and I'd like to thank Daniel Loxton for being our first guest today.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay if you want. Sure. Yeah, stay. And without any more, hang on, have a minty. Have another minty.
Where's my boa?
Photo opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, photos.
I know, our next guest I'd like to call up a man who needs no introduction.
Come on, get it on.
All right, before we start, we have an agreement.
Oh yeah.
Dr. Rachie and I have an agreement.
Dr. Rachie.
Yes! Oh yeah, get out the cameras.
Explain our agreement on mic if you can, and give a play-by-play of what's happening.
Are you sure you're ready for this, Gio?
Come on in, absolutely. That's the deal.
Now, to fill you in, when we do our Mystery Investigator show back in Australia, we have a bed of nails. And one of the key parts about that is I lie down on the bed of nails and Rachie walks all over my back. And it was suggested that, well, we don't have a bed of nails.
We're going to have a bed of mints.
We have a bed of minties.
Genuine Australian minties, a bed or more of a cot. And I'm going to lay down. Now, we have not agreed to do this before. We never met, except for the times we met.
I don't know who this man is.
And this is part of the agreement. And let it be known that if you come to TAM and you want to walk on my back and I say you can, we will eventually meet and it will happen. Okay, so here we go. Oh, Christ. Go for it.
You don't know
Here we go. Here we go. Yep.
So, are you comfortable down there, Gio?
I think a little bit lower.
There?
Yeah, that's fine. So give the play-by-play here. All right, go for it.
All right, so this is based on physics, obviously. So you're physical enough to hold me that?
Trust her, people. She's a scientist.
Do you want to pass it that around?
Great, baby.
and as Gio lies on the track. Who wants to read the ladies now? Please join me in welcoming our good friend George Hrab.
Hey. All right.
Can you give us a 1, 2, 3 on the old microphone there, George?
Root.
That's the one.
There we go. Is that good? Yes? Lovely.
I think that's working.
Hello, fellows and fellas.
Now, Gio does a great Australian accent, I must say.
I'm fighting to not do it because I can't do it in front of you people because you will just but I'm sitting there listening to you talk and I just want to just very gently sort of. No, I can't walk over into that part. I can't do it. I can't because it's terrible. And to do it, it's like I won't do my Canadian accent either, just for Daniel's sake. Sorry, I won't do my Canadian accent. It's terrible.
I couldn't hear the difference.
Now, I don't think this is necessary, but for our listening audience, Gio, could you give them a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. I have a podcast called the Geologic Podcast. I'm a musician. Oh, thank you. Oh, so kind. I'm a musician. I play drums. I wear guitar. I work with the fantastic Slough. I work with Misinformation, of course, also. Yay, hooray. And I am currently the most successful skeptic, musician, atheist, podcasting person living in my apartment.
Wow. That's fantastic. I'll tell you a little story about George. I was enjoying the 365 Days of Astronomy podcast, which I'm sure...
Award-winning, by the way.
Indeed.
Award-winning. It's right. Misinformation has it. There it is. Award-winning. Parsec award-winning. 365 days. I accepted on behalf of Pamela because she was doing something else. And so, yay, award-winning. Sorry.
That's fantastic. And I'm enjoying the podcast very much. And I didn't realize that Gio sang the theme.
The theme, that annoying theme that plays every beginning.
And then it was finally brought to my attention. I watched the clip on YouTube where he's skating around Bethlehem, isn't it?
Yes, my hometown, yes.
On his rollerblades, and it's all sped up, and he's going backwards and all this great. And I thought, this is just fantastic, because being a video producer myself, I completely appreciated what he went through to do it, because he had to do it in a different speed, because then he changed the speed, and he was lip syncing, and he must look like a complete dork running around with a camera like this with a hat.
Oh, during the video? Oh, yes, absolutely. Total dork.
And you
during
have
the
about
video.
5 different hats to put on as well.
Multiple
that must
hats.
have been
Multiple
complicated.
hats. Yes,
yeah.
Very much so. Yeah,
So I sent him a little email just to say, I really appreciate it. I said, Gio, your clip for 365 Days of Astronomy podcast is really great. It blew my socks off. Please send them back. 2 weeks later in the post came a pair of socks.
And you have them upstairs.
I have them upstairs, yeah. So I thought, okay, all right, here it starts. So I sent him a pair of socks from Australia. So the next thing I know, I get a series of photographs back from George, and he's making origami with my socks. So he's got the socks, and he folds it this way, folds it that way. Next thing you know, it's a camera.
Yeah, it morphed into a digital camera somehow.
Yes,
it was brilliant.
Very, very simple 3-step, thing. You just take the sock, fold it over, and then you grab a camera and take a picture of a camera. Nice.
So I thought that was very
faux origami or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
But seriously, as I was saying before, from my perspective of doing years of video production work, it really did blow my socks off.
Oh, thank you.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you. My goodness.
George, you're a bitch to interview. Because you
So are you, sweetheart.
Same. Now, let me see. Over the last 2 months, there's been, about 5 interviews with you? You interviewed yourself on episode 50.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult to start coming up with questions.
I'm sure you have brilliant questions that no one else has thought of, and I am prepared.
In fact, I
Hit
have
me.
researched
Nothing is off
them.
limits.
Okay. Your songs.
True.
What is...
I did write my songs.
What is a shag rug is my Poseidon adventure, and can you demonstrate on Richard Saunders?
Actually, I could. Well, if you have the boa, if you have the feather boa, the shag rug is My Poseidon Adventure is from a song that's called Simple Simeon, and it's about there's a host of a children's show. His name is the show was where they get slimed. Oh, what the hell was that show called? No, not that. No, that's another. No, this is like where you have challenge. It's like a game show. Double Dare, right? Mark Summers. Yes, Mark Summers. Mark Summers. Thank you. Jeez Louise. Mark Summers has OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and I saw a documentary about him, and there was this sequence where Mark Summers, before he could leave his house, would have to adjust the fringe on his rug into perfect parallel lines, something like this. So take this. He would sit and just, with his fingers, very gently make all the little parallel lines parallel. And I thought, every day this guy is as if he's stuck on a sinking ship, and the only way he can get out is by adjusting the shag rug. So shag rug is My Poseidon Adventure. That's where that line comes from.
Brilliant.
Oh!
We tried until our reds were blue. That's from a
song called Bebop, which is about a former a piano player that I used to work for. And just this idea of he was a very technical player that didn't have much passion, and we kept trying to get him to push himself to get out of his comfort zone. And sometimes when you're playing and you're really burning and you're in that red zone, you feel like you're just really on fire and it's hot and things are swinging and it's cooking and it's great. And you get to that point where sometimes you just cool off. So when you try so hard, you just until that fire is just gone. And we couldn't get him to kind of move beyond this sort of stylistic iceberg he was frozen in. So that's what that is. Ooh, this is fun, because no one ever asks this stuff, and there's answers to everything,
There's a little chorus in Barney's in the Vent.
Yes.
Which is a variety of words which sound Ukrainian, but if you search for them, they happen to be something else.
Did you figure it out? Is it figure outable?
Yes. Can you tell the audience?
Barney's in the Vent is... Normally it's like, what can we do with skepticism? And you just go, we should breed more than try to... We need pills that maybe, I don't know, what we should do. What should we do? So this is great to have actual answers. Okay, the song Barney's in the Vent is about Mission Impossible, the TV show. Not the piece of shit movies, but the TV show.
The original one or the 1980s remake?
No, the original one. The original one. Although the 1980s remake, I understand, was based on scripts from the original, which is very strange.
In Australia.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, with Peter Graves as the one, and the son of Barney. Okay, now Barney was the technician guy. Now Barney was, whenever the rest of the crew was in some fantastic locale, wearing clothing like I'm wearing right now, just nice tuxes and things like that, poor Barney was in a vent somewhere running the remote control. Now, of course, Barney was the black guy, So it's like, you go wait in the vent. We're going to go have cocktails with, the governor of Moldar or whatever. So,
Moldavia.
Oh no, it's Fredonia, the places like that, So the chorus of that, I actually went and found a Mission Impossible website that lists all of the. They couldn't say that the MI force was in Czechoslovakia, so they would be in Brzemsznik. That was the country they're in, because whatever. So I found all these fictional names. Either they were fake Eastern European country names, or they were fake South American names. So you had Moltonia. Oh yeah, we're in the country of Moltonia. Really? Are you? That's great. And that's what is listed as the pre-solo is happening, is all these fake countries that they've visited. So.
This is from the other song that you mentioned. Clear the plate, take Mona Lisa's advice.
Clear the plate. Oh, okay, yeah, it's also from, that's another one of those obsessive things. Yeah, that's just a list of kind of obsessive behavior. The idea you can't stop eating until the plate is done. And to look like there's no problem, like you have a face like Mona Lisa, like you're totally in control. So that's Mona Lisa's advice, is to not show your hand.
I'm getting the impression you actually put A lot of people. Yes.
No one ever asks me in this much detail, and I'm always like, there are some songs that, or some songwriters that sort of go real stream of consciousness, and they go, I don't know what that's really about. There's a very few number of tunes that are like that. Pretty much every single little thing that I put in, I cool. Jesus?
That's his latest hit.
Yes. Right. Jesus. You see, that feedback was based on... No. We okay?
We can't top that.
That's okay.
Keep going.
Anyway, so it's just nice to be asked about this stuff.
Oh, well, I don't know if we'll be able to get away with this one. Just how nasty is Tory Wells?
I don't know I know from some personal experience, but Tory Wells is a famous, or infamous, well-known adult movie star, we'll call it that. So...
Now suddenly you don't want to answer anymore.
No, sure. Hey, she gets pretty nasty. She gets pretty nasty, which is fine.
Speaking of nasty...
And she rhymes... It's like you go on Google to find something that rhymes with, you have to sign L's, so it's like, I need a porn star that rhymes. Oh, Tory Wells, perfect.
Okay, speaking of nasty, will there ever be enough songs not about Nancy Clark?
Will there ever? Yeah, no. Probably not. Yeah, I was sued by a former employee of mine. I wrote a song about this employee. Well, supposedly, no. I wrote a song about her, and yeah. Snip, yeah.
I used to bleep.
Oh, sorry. I'm a peasant. I'm sorry.
You're saying that, Richard, after what you and I did on his show? You remember last year? Root.
Oh, root.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Yes.
Please, keep going.
There was a 34-second song that I wrote, which was just using the syllables of someone's name and then the word sucks at the end. Very immature, very silly, very stupid. And I was sued for $50,000. And she won. Even though the judge's name was Simpson, and I thought, ooh, this is a good sign, Judge Simpson, cool, like, yay, but no. The judge sort of deferred judgment. He made an outrageous judgment, figuring we would appeal. Now, the attorney that I was using was an attorney that you get when you are a poor, starving artist. There's a great organization called the Philadelphia Lawyers for the Arts, where you go, you show them your tax form, they kind of laugh for a second, and then they say, sure, we'll represent you, because, how did you get here? Where did you get cab fare? How did you pay for the gas in your car? And they represented me, and they kind of messed up because they missed the deadline. My attorney said, you actually should sue us, is what you should do. I sort of said, I'm not going to sue anybody. So I ended up, I sort of never really wrote another song with lyrics. But there is a song called Litigious Bitch, which it's an instrumental. It's an instrumental, so it's...
But there's also Trial and Error, isn't there?
Oh, and Trial and Error, yeah. Trial and Error has an actual little snippet from the trial. The trial was about 60 minutes long. It was like this great episode of Law and Ha-Ha. So within the song, which is also instrumental, there is an actual transcript from the trial, which to me was the crux of the biscuit of the whole trial. Was in those little 5 lines. Yeah.
Can I ask you about that, Gio? Because you did a whole episode where you did all the voices of the people from the trial,
right,
and read out the judgment.
Yes.
How is that? You have permission to do that, or you just...
Oh yeah, that's public record. Yeah. So once, which is the funniest thing is, all of the headache and all of the weirdness and all of the years of just garbage we had to go through was all worth it, because at one point they had to play the song in the courtroom. And number one, it's now in the public record forever. Number two, it was such kind of this Python moment of I'm sitting there saying, don't smile too broadly, like you're gonna look like a like don't smile, don't, and I just couldn't, and I'm just grinning. And the witness, another witness who was a co-worker, she's trying to hold back a smile, even though she was a witness for the prosecution. She's like sort of, and my attorney says, it's kind of funny, isn't it? And she's like, it's humorous, yes. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That's worth $50,000 right there. That's worth it. That's what that was.
Now, to wrap it up,
both our guests, I'll put this question to you because I find it very interesting. I know I've spoken to Steve Novella about this, being just really citizens as we are, but deeply concerned and involved in skepticism. I'll start with you, Daniel. How do you allocate your time? What weight do you put on this project or that project? Personally, maybe I do it too much, but I find it so important that I do dedicate a lot of time to it.
My wife's in the audience. I think she'll tell you that I just spend all of my time.
She's nodding profusely.
I was just laughing with the guys in my studio about this. Basically, the sort of fundamental tasks that I have to do during a quarter are more or less enough to take up the entire quarter. But I do a lot of extra projects, and so all of those projects, whenever I feel the need to write a manifesto, something like that, it comes at the expense of some other desperate deadline I have. So it's always the wrong, reckless decision to take on one of those projects, and yet sometimes you just have to.
Yeah.
If there's a faith healer coming to your town, or if there's somebody trying to sink a piece of responsible legislation, you have to speak up when you have to speak up, and sometimes it's timely, or sometimes it's just a matter of not being willing to leave a million projects in the half-done folder forever. Sometimes you just have to floor it and hope for the best.
Yeah, George.
Yeah, for me, skepticism is such a tool and such a part of every decision that you make on some level, percentage-wise, that I feel no matter what I'm doing on, whether I'm working on something specifically for a skeptical project, a song or a video or an interview or a going to TAM. That's one thing, but just in everyday existence, it's such a sort of key part that I feel I get to kind of utilize it and do it all the time. I'm very lucky in that what I do has afforded me the opportunity to, let's put it this way, every bit of effort that I've put into a skeptical project has paid back a millionfold. There is no reason that you guys should know who I am in terms of logistics. And soon we'll return back to not knowing. No, it's somehow, you saw this video that I did, and somehow the right people from the JRAF and from TAM got involved, and it's like every little sort of bit of effort that you put in at some point, writing a song like Skeptic, which I wrote 10 years ago when I was visiting London with Slough. I didn't sit down and think, this will lead to a panel discussion with James Randi. Give it time. It's not, that's not how I was thinking, but yet there was a lot of work to finish the song and do it, and someone connected with it and saw something in it, and then when I met Jeff Wagg, he was like, oh, you should do this, and then he met the other person, and that's how it works. So any effort that you put in, that's also the cool thing to tell your listeners, is that you can be a complete nobody and have a tremendous influence. Whether you're hosting, a bit of a radio program on your website so that it can't get taken down from someplace else. It is such a vital link in this sort of skeptical chain that we're building, and anyone can be a part of it as long as you're doing it with a certain enthusiasm and a certain genuineness.
Yes,
and that's what's so cool. I think
that's excellent.
I'm the poster boy for that. Because I have no degrees in anything, so
But you are on posters, I've seen that.
That's true too. Yes, the literal poster boy.
Can you please join me in thanking our guests today?
Thank you.
Thank you, Loxton. Showing them with Tim Tams, Minties, and Australian Skeptics pin badges. I'd like to thank our dear friend Kylie Sturgess for helping us out today. And Dr. Rachie from Dr. Rachie Reports.
Welcome you back here.
So thank you for listening to this episode of Skeptic Zones. Keep tuned. In the coming weeks we'll be having lots of interviews with the people we're running around chasing the microphones here at Dragon Con. And until next week, it's goodbye from Richard Saunders. And we're out.
Tea times for anyone?
Tea times, Mickey, stickers. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, great. Working next. you need?
I would love to hear about the education.
Oh, yeah. What would you like?
What are you giving them all away?
They're gone.
So that was the Skeptic Zone live.
Live for the first birthday edition.
What fun.
Oh,
what fun.
It makes us all very, very, very sad that we weren't there.
Oh, poor Steph. I'm sorry. Next year, as you keep saying, we'll get you there. We'll put you on a ship, something.
Oh, I hope I do. But you've actually got a few photos and stuff in there too. Are they available through the Skeptic Zone website?
Yeah, if you go to the Skeptic Zone website, skepticzone.tv, and go to our photograph section, there'll be photographs there from the Skeptic Zone live.
Yeah, so you can see all that you missed out on too, dear listener, just like me, who weren't there.
Oh, dear. But I tell you what, Steph.
Yes?
If you can't make these wonderful conventions next year in Sydney, mark your diary. November the 26th to the 28th in Sydney, we have got the big, fabulous convention.
Oh, it's going to be a huge one.
The Australian Skeptics National Convention, and maybe there's some more information we can tell you in a couple of weeks about that. But for now, our special guests will be the Skeptics Guide to the Universe crew.
They're coming.
They're coming
to Sydney.
Yep, and we're just keeping things under wraps at the moment, but we've got a lot of very big names in podcasting and skepticism going to be coming over. So Sydney, Australia, November the 26th to the 28th. Mark your diaries. 2010.
I'm marking it right now.
Years too.
See there, look at it. Done.
Thank you. Locked in.
It's going to be huge.
Much more information about that soon, but if you can't wait till then, Queensland, Australia, this November 27th, 28th and 29th.
Right.
Is our national convention.
For 2009.
Yep. Look at that.
More info in the Skeptic magazine.
Dr. Carl will be there. Chrissy Wilson, Barry Williams, Loretta Marin, the Jelly Bean Lady, lots of other people. 27th, 28th and 29th of November this year.
Fantastic.
More information at www.skeptics.com.au.
Richard, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Stefan.
Thank you, listeners, and a big thank you to the listeners for sticking with us for an entire year.
Do you think we should do it for another year?
I think we should have a crack at it.
Let's try.
Let's see what we can do.
All right, on to year 2.
Another year 2 in the zone. Thanks, listeners, and we'll see you next week.
Bye now.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.
The Skeptic Zone.